Vayikra. This parsha, oh my gosh, it's really replete with a lot of secret-coded things and gematriot that are absolutely, I think, phenomenal. But the basic part of the parsha, it's definitely not an easy parsha. Most people get very confused by this stuff because it's the karbonos. First of all, what is a carbon? That's the question. The Ramban and the Rambam talk about what is a carbon. The Rambam's opinion is that it was a placation, like for people, because there were people in the world, non-Jews, who worshipped Avodah Zorah, and they brought different offerings of things, like Satanism kind of stuff, and they did these things, and they liked that stuff. So Hashem thought, well, my people is not like that. They're not supposed to do this stuff, but it's kind of like Rabbi Sprecher says, do it, but do it my way. So my way is like the Karbanos. Now this is a very interesting concept, but the one Sprecher says about other things, the Rambam Maimonides, right, takes it this way, Moshe ben Maimon, and he says that it's a placation to the Jewish people. I think that's a little far-fetched, personally, but I can't take umbrage with the Rambam because he's great. But let's look at the Ramban. So the Ramban can certainly think, he says that it's not like that. The Karbonos have a purpose, that it's, Hashem knows what the actual purpose is, and even though we can make hints to what the purpose possibly would be, Hashem wants us to do it, and we will still do Karbonos even in the end of days. When it comes to Mashiach, we'll still do Karbonos in the Beit HaMikdash. It's not just there is a beautiful temple that we walk into and say, what a lovely building, and Hashem is here. There's more to it, and we have to still bring Karbonos. So his idea is more like the idea of the fact that we're bringing Karbonos because we did something wrong, and unfortunately this little Shepsela has to die. I mean, think about that. It's like it's a cute little animal. You know, think if you had a little sheep. It's cute, you had it in your barnyard, whatever. You have to kill this animal because you made a sin. In fact, even a B'shogeg sin, most of them are B'shogeg. Not all, we're going to talk about that in a moment too, but most of them are B'shogeg, meaning unintentional sins. Everybody thinks it's only unintentional. That's not true. But whatever, sometimes we bring some for other things like theft. That's not only bringing a carbon, you have to pay back the theft. You stole something, you have to make retribution. You have to make recompense to the person you stole it from. Either return the animal or the object, or if you can't because you already got rid of it, then you have to pay them money. Right? And in certain circumstances, you have to pay them double the money. Okay, at any rate, then there's a carbon that's brought also. So actually, that's not B'shogeg. You knew you stole, so therefore that's for sure a guilt thing. And it is a guilt offering that you have to bring, but there's a double thing. We'll talk about it a little more, maybe, get a chance. But that's the idea of Karbanos. So Karbanos means you're replacing something, but more than that, you're also replacing the fact that you should have died on the altar. You did a sin. You should be put to death. And therefore the Ramban says, but you're not put to death. Hashem doesn't want your death. He wants you, especially for a B'shogeg sin. What, I lit a fire, I didn't think about it so well on Shabbos, I shouldn't be doing this. Sometimes it's totally accidental, it's not a sin at all. But sometimes it's, I should have recognized it was Shabbos, I was pretty stupid, I shouldn't have done this thing. If it's not b'mezid, it's not on purpose, if it's on purpose, it's even worse. But if it's not on purpose, you need to bring a shepsela of some sort of animal, right? Or bird or whatever. At any rate, but you bring that, but you don't have to kill yourself on the altar. So up in heaven, Michael is sacrificing the righteous souls in heaven. That's the souls. This is not the souls. This is your body put to a horrible death, not going to do it. Hashem's not going to do it. So he takes the animal instead. And therefore you have to feel bad because the animal had to die for you, so to speak. It's really a vicarious atonement in that sense. And the Goys talk big time about Yashka being the vicarious atonement for humanity. That's totally garbage. No human being has to die in that way, right? Not even Yashka, right? But the point is no human being, if he even lived, right? But the point is we don't have vicarious atonement. We get to go directly to God, but the Karbonos help us to get closer because maybe we did something wrong. But it's not just something wrong, because the first 3 chapters of Vayikra are not about sinning. It's the 4th and the 5th chapter about sinning and guilt offerings. The first 3 are about, we'll read it now, the first one's about the Olah. So let me read the sheet, and you've got it in front of you. Olah means that which goes up. It's totally burnt up completely. None of it is left. The olah had to be a male animal without blemish. That's the rule in the Torah. It could be a bull, a sheep, a goat, or a pair of birds, depending on how much a person could afford. And in olah, the animals were slaughtered, their blood was sprinkled around and on the altar. The sacrifice was skinned and cut into pieces, and the entire animal, except for the hide, only the hide was not done, was burned on the altar. Everything but the hide was burned. Olah offerings of birds were killed and prepared differently, but they were also burnt completely on the altar. The purpose of the olah was to demonstrate one's belief in God and submission to God's commandments. So you bring an olah for those purposes. Certain holidays required an olah type of offering. The mincha, this chapter 2, was an offering of unleavened flour in the form of cakes or wafers. Part of it was burned on the altar and the rest was given to the priest. The hard part about chapter 2 is distinguishing between the different types of wafer things that were brought. Which kind of bread type of offering are you giving? Which type of cereal are you giving? The next kind of sacrifice was the zevach shlamim, the full peace offering. By the way, the Pesach offering is a type of this. It's not identical, though, because of the fact it has a special din vis-a-vis Pesach. And it's not burned on the altar there in the Beit HaMikdash. It's burned externally somewhere else. Therefore, that's the different part. But still, some of its things are brought into the Beit HaMikdash. At any rate, but it is a Zevach Shlamim type. It's a full peace offering. Its mood was one of thanksgiving. It's also called the Thanksgiving offering. Why do you bring it? That's not on the sheet. You bring it because you're happy. Your life is going great. You just got a great job. The boss is nice to you. Whatever it is, your wife gave you a kiss. You bring a Thanksgiving offering, right? You're happy with your lot, right? Like the olah, this offering was also an animal, but could be either a male or female. Unlike the olah, only part of the zevach shlamim, mainly the fat, was dedicated to God and burned on the altar. You're not burning the whole animal. Certain of the other cuts were given to the priest, and the rest of the meat provided a festive meal for the person who brought the sacrifice and his or her guests. Hence the Pesach offering. Think of that. You're inviting guests to the thing, not just your guests. You're all going in on a Pesach lamb. So we're reading already. We read it this last Shabbos in Parshat HaKodesh, chapter 12 of Parshat Bo, basically, in Exodus many chapters ago. We're now in Vayikra, the beginning. So in Bo, it says that there's the first of the month for you. Then it says you take a lamb, right, so old, and you take it and you keep it in your house so many days. This is the thing that you're going to slaughter. But everybody, when you take it, of your family, signs in on, oh, we're all going to eat this thing together. Because it's so much meat, you all have to go in on it together. Even though, truthfully, my daughter said this the other day, you only really eat a little bit of it. You don't eat that much of it, and you're supposed to be satiated from that. And the chagiga, which is what we represent by the egg now on the Pesach plate, it is the big piece of meat that you're going to have on your plate. So when you're thinking, hi, come on in. Herman, I almost said hey right there. Sorry, Herman, yes, very good. Same first letter though. All right, H, very nice. So we're talking about the different offerings that are brought. So right now we're on the shlamim. So everybody goes in on the Pesach offering, you all sign up for it. And it says in the Torah directly, if your house is too small for a sad, what does that mean? Your house is too small to keep an animal? No. It means your household can't eat this animal. It's too much stuff. So you invite 50 other guests, or whatever it is, and everybody gets a little piece of the animal. And then at the end of it is, you eat another little piece, that's called the what? Afikomen. At that time, it was the Pesach. The Pesach, the Korban Pesach that you're eating at the end also. No dessert. We're not talking about ice cream, even if it's hard. You're talking about a piece of meat. Who wants to eat a piece of meat after you already ate so much chagiga, which is another gigantic piece of meat? At any rate, those are the offerings, and they're called, both of them, the Zevach Shlamim. I'm going to finish reading in the middle of the third paragraph here. Certain of the other cuts are given to the priest, the rest meat for a festive meal for the person who brought the sacrifice and his or her guest. Parentheses. This may well have been the only time when the majority of people in ancient Israel got to eat meat. So it's not like today where we have meat everywhere, right? That was the main time they got to eat meat, was when somebody brought, and people went in on it, the carbon zevach shlamim. All right, then the Ola, the Mincha, the Zevach Shlamim were voluntary sacrifices. Not so the Chatat and Hasham. Those first 3 chapters of Vayikra are only talking about a person voluntarily of themselves give an offering. But the Chatat offering was brought by an individual or a community which had unknowingly, they didn't know, they unknowingly sinned regarding one of the commandments. It's B'shogev, it's unintentional. These sins included failure to testify, touching an unclean animal or carcass, coming in contact with human uncleanliness, or failure to fulfill an oath. The animal brought for the sacrifice depended on the place in society an individual occupied. If the offering was made because the whole community had sinned, or because a priest had sinned, they had to sacrifice a bull. That's a very large animal. The leader of the people had to sacrifice a male goat, and ordinary Israelite could bring a female goat or sheep instead. But notice it said place in the society. So a rich person could bring, let's say it's a regular Israelite, could bring a female goat or a sheep. But what if they couldn't afford that? What if they're not rich? Then they had a choice of bringing either, in this case, for this one, which is the Chatat, they had to bring not the cereal offering in this case, but they had to bring 2 birds. And 2 birds didn't cost that much, so they could afford to do that. And this is all listed in chapter 4. And finally, you have the very strange chapter 5. Here's where we delineate. We always think offering any of these types is always going to be b'shogeg. Well, voluntary isn't b'shogeg. Voluntary is you want to bring. So those first 3 chapters aren't about that. It's really only chapter 4 that's about b'shogeg offering, and a few parts of chapter 5, because chapter 5 is called the Asham. Now think about it. You stole something. I stole something from someone. I took their stereo. So if I take their stereo, I went to the house and I said, oh, Elkanah, he's got a neat stereo. I want to take it. He can keep his cat, but I want the stereo. Okay, so I take his stereo, I take it home with me. He doesn't catch me. He didn't see, he wasn't there. And I broke in and I stole it, right? And I didn't really. But I take it home. If somebody finds out I stole that stereo, I have to do something. Now, bringing the chatat, in this case the asham, the guilt offering is not enough. Yes, I definitely have to bring an offering to the temple. But that's not b'shogeg. I stole it. So I have to pay back to Elchanan that object if I still have the stereo, hopefully in good condition. Or if I got, bless you, money for the thing, I have to pay him the money the stereo was worth so he can replace the stereo. And on top of that, I probably have to pay a penalty. Sometimes it's called kefil, double the thing because of the fact that I did this thing. There's no b'shogeg. I did it. But the asham still is brought because to the temple I have to finalize it with God. I have to also get right with Elkanah by paying back, and I have to get right with God, so I still have to bring an offering. So please don't believe that I also thought this last year, that all of these offerings are always b'shogeg, but that's not the case. All right. At any rate, you can read the last paragraph, but I'm going to go on. So that's the types of offerings.